Hey guys, welcome back to On Our Terms, hosted by moi, Ismatou Bah, the big sister fucks up so you don't have to. As usual, let's set some ground rules. This is not a safe space. It's a brave space, so let's be brave. In honor of that, mummy, I'm Fulani and gay as fuck. Featuring Ismatou Bah.
Make some noise, y'all. What the fuck? Yeah.
Today, I'm here with Ismatou Bah. Amadou is a dynamic Brooklyn-born artiste and educator, deeply influenced by their first-generation experience, born to parents from Guinea. Say it loud, say it proud.
224, stand up.
Amadou has always navigated the complexities of intersectional identities, finding solace and expression through music and theater. These creative outlets have been essential in shaping their artistic journey and personal growth. Currently, Amadou is dedicated to inspiring the next generation as a middle school theater teacher, passionate about introducing Black and Brown youth to the transformative power of artistic expression, encouraging students to explore and embrace their unique voices. Through their teaching, Amadou aims to create a more inclusive and vibrant arts community where every young person can see themselves reflected and valued. How have you been?
I'm okay. Navigating life, just graduated grad school.
Congrats.
I just wanted to check. Bigger bag. That was
as you should.
About it. Yeah.
I know you recently also moved into your new apartment. How's that been?
I hate Washington Heights. Hot take, cold take, I don't give a fuck. I hate Washington Heights. I don't care what no one else had to say about it. Brooklyn is the best borough. Fight me. That's the bridge I'm dying on.
I mean, personally, I would never move there, but
cheap rent.
Mm-hmm.
Cheap rent.
And that will do it to you. Is this the first time you're moving out since college? Or
no.
Have you been...
So I moved out right after the pandemic. I was supposed to go to Panama.
To live?
No, just for a cultural immersion thing.
Okay.
And the week I was supposed to go, COVID happened. And they said, pack your fucking bag. That was when they sent us that email and said, pack your shit.
And get out.
Eviction notices.
Yeah.
And then I went back to living with my parents. And I was just sitting there like, ooh, spooky. And maybe right after that semester ended, someone was just like, hey, I found this apartment. I think you'd be a cool roommate. And I was like, actually, you're right. I should move out.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there and I was like, let me plan it strategically. So
how you're gonna bring it to your parents? Or
yes, I sat there and I viewed the apartment, paid the down payment, deposit, all that shit. We got the keys, and then I sat my father down. I was like, hey, so just want to let you know I'm moving. He was like, no, you're not. I was like, yes, I am. He was like, no, you're not. I said, I signed the lease. I'm moving. And that's how I moved out my parents' house.
And did he just say, was he just like, okay? Or is it
he was just like, I'm going to give you words of wisdom, you shouldn't. And I was just like, thank you for your words. I'm not going to take them, but thank you. And my mom, she was just like, you're moving.
Did she start crying?
No, she dramatically looked at the ceiling as I stood there in her bedroom and she just kept saying, you're moving. You're moving. You're moving. Allah brought you back and you're moving. And I was just like...
You say it in Fulani. Say it how they said it.
She said it in English.
She said it in English. Oh, wow. She must have been stunned. You know when they start speaking, they're stunned.
She was just like, you're not married. I was just like, so I can't move? And she was just like, Allah brought you back into our house and you're moving. And I was just sitting there, I was just like, do y'all not understand the dynamic of our relationship and how space is needed? But I didn't say that. I just looked at her and I was just like...
I feel like a lot of our parents are used to living in discomfort and just misery. And so it's the fact that we're actually I don't want to live in misery and we should just not live together. You know what I mean? It's fine. They're it's so offensive to them. Because honestly also they didn't really necessarily also have the option. But it's I think it's so befuddling to them that we have the option and we're gonna take it.
For them, autonomy and choice is something that shouldn't exist. It's just this hasn't happened before, so why should it happen now? It's just you're breaking cultural norms. What the fuck is it's like earthquakes happening in their lives, and they're like, what the fuck? What is the community gonna say? How's everyone else gonna react? What do I say to cover my ass? And it's just girl, fuck up. We'll be okay. This is needed.
Yeah, I kind of want to get into talking about cultural norms with you. I want to talk about how,
Ooh,
I want to talk about how niggas is raised. I want to talk about
okay.
how niggas is raised. Like, what was it like being raised like in that? Because you're the oldest.
The oldest and only boy.
You're the oldest and the only boy. So what was it like? And the oldest of 4, right?
Hmm.
Same twin.
And it's crazy because I feel like growing up, like, I don't think my parents pit me and my siblings against each other, but there is like that like comparison aspect that at some point I resented my siblings, and I don't think I ever clocked it until like I became an adult and started going through therapy. But the collective trauma that all like, well, the youngest one is like 11, so I don't think has the same trauma as us. But
Yeah.
the other two right after me, there's like a bond and connection that we have because of like just having to endure the shit that our parents put us through, where it's just like it just made us closer. But being raised as like the only boy, the firstborn, it's just,
You're kind of like the prize, because like you're the prize jewel. You're the man of the family.
you know, when you watch them TV shows and it's like all them historical shits and they be like, oh, I want my firstborn to be a boy, 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 boy. Like
Yeah.
it's so praised.
Yeah.
I feel like my mother, that was her. It was just like everyone's gonna accept me because my son is like, I got a son. That was my first child was a son. And it was
Yeah.
just like, I really hope that's not the extent of what your dreams and aspirations are. Like having children shouldn't be like the limit for you.
Did your mom come to this country because she was married to your dad?
Yep.
I feel for
Yeah.
our moms, especially our moms, because I feel like their trauma and like the way that like they end up like, just like the way their trauma ends up manifesting is literally because they're traumatized by these horrible men that are in our community. I said it. And I always like, I don't know, I always feel, because it's like you could just tell there's so much internalized patriarchy, so much internalized like self-hate, so much internalized like just
Misogyny, low key too.
misogyny. And instead of like, and they don't have the resources and the tools to like dissect it, and so they end up like putting it onto their kids. And like, yeah, like I totally, I'm not surprised that like they were so gassed that you were a boy. But I guess how did that manifest? I'm guessing the expectations of a man were probably that much more
Oh, what?
harsher.
The amount of times I've heard be a man, be a man, be a man. And I used to just be sitting like, I got a dick. Like, what else you want me, like, what else you want me to do? Like,
Yeah.
is that not enough for y'all? But it was just like, not only just, for them being man was just like the way you present yourself. Like the toxic masculinity of like being macho, not sharing your feelings, not crying, like being head of the household. Like, especially being the firstborn, there's like this weight of like, all of our aspirations and our dreams and our wants and needs are being put onto you, and you're the one that's supposed to provide it for everyone. And it's often reiterated to me now as an adult of like, well, me and your father are getting older, like, we're looking to you. And it's just like, I just want to make money and party right now. Like, hey, y'all want me to sit here and fucking buy a house, build land, marry, like, wow.
Yeah.
I'm 25.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's like this, my mom says this, I don't want to say it's stupid. Like, I understand what she's saying, but I just be looking at her like, having kids isn't the extent of my dreams. Where she's just like, you don't want to grow old and have your grandkids. And I'm just like, ooh, spooky, I don't. But also, like, I can't, like, let me live.
Yeah.
And I think there's like this cultural norm of compare yourself to everyone around you.
I mean, yeah, that's how a lot of us are raised, and that's why bitches are weird.
And like,
Niggas
this
are
is the
weird.
standard that you're supposed to be.
Yeah, like look
reaching.
at this kid, look at that kid, look at what that kid is doing for this person, look at what this kid is doing for their parent. Look, he just bought his mom a house.
Girl.
And then when someone's doing really bad, they're like, well, look, like I remember like before I moved out, like I think I was talking to one of my parents, and they were just like, yeah, like this woman is like depressed and like has basically like fallen into a deep, like, has basically gone crazy because her only two sons that she spent all her life raising, like they moved out. They moved out and they live in
to laugh.
downtown. They live in the Lower East Side, and they left her all alone in the Harlem apartment. And I was just like, why didn't she go and live her life? And they go, why would she do that? And
They
I,
think
like,
she destitute or something?
no,
Like,
and I was just like, I just think that like, I was like, I just think that's kind of pathetic. Like, I think like, but like, then again, like our parents, they don't really, especially like for our mothers, their whole life is like raising us. So I like I said, like I can't imagine all of a sudden one day halt. Like your kids are like, oh, actually, I don't need you. Like, thank you so much, and like, peace out. And it's like I think it comes from like this community. They're like extremely community centered people. They care about what other people have to say because like the community is like essentially that's how they survived like as immigrants in this country, you know. But I guess I would love to kind of know because I want to really define for the audience like Guinean Fulani culture and the traditionalism aspect of it.
Yeah.
And like, I know you touched a little bit on your siblings, but now I kind of want to get into like, are you, like you said that you're close with your siblings now, but like, how were you raised as opposed to your sisters?
Oh, girl. I remember I would be doing homework and my mom would come in talking about go lout you to my siblings. Yo defa, mine defen, which is like, you know, go cook. We're cooking. Like, you're a woman, be a woman. Like, what the wudere? Like, wearing shorts in the house for my siblings was not a thing that they did. Like, they had to wear, like, you know, the traditional cloth in the household. And I'd just be sitting there like, they can't wear pants? Like, what's wrong with that? And then I'd be sitting there just, like, chilling, and they would not bother me at all when it came to that stuff. And I just used to always sit there and be like, damn, like, I would hear my siblings complaining about it often, but I shut my fat ass up because they wasn't looking to me. I said, they looking to y'all. Get the fuck up and clean.
Yeah.
Which is terrible looking back, but it was also just like, I was in survival mode. Like, I was gay. Like, I was like, let me hide. And if they wasn't looking for me, I wasn't going to be found because I was just like, I need to hide behind. I didn't need it to hide. Like, it was a form of escapism, me allowing them to do that to my siblings.
Do you feel like you were able to express yourself in any way?
Oh, girl, no. What? Any form of expression, it's because you're gay, right? And it's like, oh, so y'all niggas knew. Y'all knew. And you chose to be in denial. So, what now? I remember I heard a story about when I was in Africa and I was like 4 or something. And there's like this traditional thing when a woman gets married or whatever. It's like, you know?
Yeah.
That. Apparently I was 4 in the cloth dancing with the woman singing that song. And I'm like, the signs were there. I was reaching out trying to let y'all know I'm a faggot. But they chose to ignore the signs. So that's not on me. This was in Guinea, mind you. But it's also just like, I understand it's like, I was a child, I was 4, like, I don't really feel like a 4-year-old necessarily has a sexuality. But it's still like, there are moments in childhood, like, especially being a teacher, I'd be looking at some of my students like, oh, you're one of us. And I just be looking at my parents like, I know y'all saw me. I was just like,
Course correct.
And then the Islamic school.
What sent you to, the Arabic school on the weekends? Oh, that must have been a different set of trauma for you. I mean, it was traumatic for everybody, I think, involved. I literally, like, resented Islam for so long, but I can't even imagine
me too. It's tough where it's just like, you're told that, especially being born into it and not given the choice to be like, this is what I am, where it's just like, nah, nigga, like, I'm Muslim, that means you Muslim too. And it's just like, okay, I understand the, like, lineage portion of it, but then it's just like, when you go there, you're hearing all these, like, rules that you're essentially supposed to follow and live life by. And there's a difference between, like, literacy and comprehension, where it's just like, we were being taught the literacy aspect, but never the comprehension.
Yeah.
So it was always like, I know how to read Arabic. I can read great.
You can say that all the time, yeah.
I can sigu. Ask me what it means. I'm looking at you like,
yeah.
Outside of Bismillah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, seriously. And I know you also used to, before you got to college, because also I don't even think I let people know this. Me and Amadou met in college. You were a year below me. But I know you used to like experiment with how you dress and stuff. And you said I think we mentioned before, you used to also do it before college. So how did you experiment given like you lived at home. Were you like the fake hijabi girls that used to wait until they got out the house and like rip the hijab off? or were you like just true to it and your parents were just looking at you crazy?
Nah, I was not true to it. I feel like, it was survival. It was just like I knew the household that I was in. I knew the culture I grew up in. I knew the religion I grew up in. And it was just like, for me to feel comfortable, it was kind of like I have to hide my identity because I don't want to feel ostracized. I don't want to be ridiculed. And I don't want my parents to necessarily have that backlash onto them as well. So I remember, I feel like it was like in oh my gosh, I've never said this out loud. In high school, I used to think I was trans. And it was because I just, growing up a male, it's just like you don't get the opportunity to like express softness or be soft, especially like being queer, where it's just kind of like they're trying to like beat that shit out of you essentially, or like talk you out of it. It's just like, for me, I was just like, I was trying to find any and everything that allowed me to express femininity and softness because life wanted me to be so hard, especially growing up in the hood. Like, people was always like, Brooklyn's gentrified, Brooklyn. Yes, Brooklyn is gentrified, but there's also still the hood in Brooklyn. Like, let's not get it twisted. So growing up in the hood, or like literally always being around hood niggas, it was kind of like, all right, straighten up. Like, I essentially had to, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess mask my identity just for survival. And it felt terrible because it was just like, I knew I was masking my identity. But then it was like, I got to school and it's just like, oh, these my friends, these my homegirls. Like, I went to performing arts school. Who the fuck was gonna bully me for being gay? Like, nigga, you study acting. Shut up.
How do you identify now?
What do you mean? Like,
because you said you used to think you were trans.
Oh, I'm a nigga. I'm a nigga. I got to a place where I realized that femininity and masculinity can live in the same body and not be at contention with each other. And I feel like for so long, that wasn't the case because of the household I grew up in, where it was just like, you're a man and these are your roles and responsibilities. And I don't think my father's a terrible person at all. I think he's a great man. But just seeing the way that he was, it was just like, at least with me, he was very, like, I saw he was affectionate with my siblings and my sisters. And then with me, it was just like, hi. It's like, damn, like, I got your last name. Like, please, I'm still your blood. And I don't know, I just wanted to feel that affection and love and care. And I know my parents love and care for me, but I don't necessarily think my parents like me. And I think it's feelings mutual. Where it's like, I love y'all, but as people, it's just like, y'all got shit that y'all gotta figure out in order for our relationship to...
And it's not gonna be at the expense of mental health.
This is my fourth therapist. Well, it's my fourth therapist because the other three were shitty. But still, like, I had to still go on this journey that took about 7 years to find a therapist that can help me get through my shit because of the trauma that I had to endure.
Yeah.
But it was very... be a man.
When did you start, like, letting yourself express yourself?
I think it was in high school,
or,
but it
like,
was very
explore your
limited.
Expression.
It was in high school and it was very limited. It definitely was in high school. Whether it was like just watching YouTube videos. I remember I used to sit and watch people's coming out stories. And then one day I was just like, this is sad. And I was just like, I got to a place where I was like, I don't need to come out to people. I was just like, I can just live. Like, straight people don't gotta come out. Why the fuck should I have to come out? Like, they don't have to sit there and endure the whole, I like women. Like, girl, no. And I was not about to sit here and make my identity feel as though it was being ridiculed by society because they couldn't accept me for who I was. I honestly think everyone's a little gay. I honestly think everyone's bisexual. There is no way in the world you're gonna sit there and tell me as a human being, your mind ain't never wandered and was just like, oh, what it would be like with the same. No. Like, I think everyone has had a thought or two. And if you haven't had a thought, then you're fucking lying to yourself. You need to be locked up for not living in your truth. If you gay, be gay. Suck a little dick. No one cares. We're not gonna judge you. What you do behind closed doors, what you do behind closed doors. You know? I forgot what the question was.
I was basically asking you, like, when did you kind of start exploring? And you basically answered it through the YouTube videos. Yeah.
YouTube, I think also just through theater. Shout out to my middle school theater teacher, Edwin Robinson. That was like really the first time where I was just like, wow, I can let go of like the trauma that I'm holding on to in my day-to-day life and be someone else for a moment. And I think for me, my therapist said this in one of our first sessions, where she was just like, people who go through trauma have two forms of like escapism. It's either like you do hard drugs. I'm Black. I wasn't going to do hard drugs. Or you go to like theater and music and the arts essentially. And it's a form of escapism. Like you're creating these other worlds for yourself to feel as though you're able to be brave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was for me. And I think college as well was another place where I was just like, I remember applying to colleges. I said, I want to get the fuck away from my parents.
That's so crazy that you went to NYU then.
You know, the story of NYU was so crazy because I didn't think I was getting in.
Really?
I didn't want to apply. My mom said, you should apply. And I was like, okay. I applied. I went to the audition. It was the worst audition I had in my... I studied acting. That's why I auditioned.
Yeah.
But it was the worst audition I had. The worst. Me and the interviewer got into a little argument. And I was sitting there, I said, all right, like, I ain't get in. I left the audition and I forgot about the school. And then when I saw they sent the email and said you got in, I was just like, I'm flabbergasted. And then I saw the scholarship and I said, let's slow the fuck down. Like, I'm trying to get away. Like, and there was a point where I literally sat there for like a week and I was like, I'm going to deny it. I'm going to deny it. I'm going to deny it because I was just like, I'm too close in proximity to my parents. And there was no way in hell my parents was going to let me dorm. It was to the point me and my college guidance counselor was sitting there trying to find ways to get my parents to allow me to dorm. And at one point I was just like,
That's so crazy. That's usually what girls go through. I didn't realize, I didn't realize it was a thing because like I said, like my mom sent me away to boarding school. So like, I guess like on that spectrum, like I guess my mom is Rosa Parks in that regards. Like
she's a revolution.
She is. And I didn't realize it because my mom used to always say like, yeah, like, well, my mom was also the type of person too, like nobody was going to talk to her about her kids, especially back then. Like, you know what I mean? She was like, nobody's going to tell me what to do with my kids. Yeah. Like, y'all don't raise them. That's my business, whatever. And so when people were like, you're going to send your daughter to boarding school? She was like, yes. And she's there and she's having a good time. Worry about your little hood rat kids. Like, they don't got nothing to do with, like, that don't got shit. I don't ask you about your kids. Don't ask me about my kids. My mom was I would say my mom was super protective of her kids in that sense. And so when I went to college, and I met other Guineans and Fulanis and girls who were like telling me, oh my God, like, it's crazy to me that you can live on campus. And like, it was, for me, it was like a culture shock. I grew up very separate from Fulanis. Like, I don't think I was a part of the community the way like I think a lot of other Fulanis have grown up, like either in building pita.
Spooky.
Either in like the Bronx. Like I didn't go to a lot of the Dendobos or any of that.
I honestly do feel like there is a big distinction between Bronx Guineans and Brooklyn Guineans.
Really?
And I realized it when I was going to NYU or just Bronx Africans, I guess. And
How so?
Africans.
What's the difference?
I feel like the Bronx Africans are so much more lenient. I would be on the phone and people like, yeah, I'm outside, I'm sneaking out. I'm like, sneaking out? My parents would have my head on a stick.
No, I don't think there is a difference. I think it's the same level of like toxicity. I mean, also, let me not, because I'm not a Bronx Guinean. I did grow up in Queens. I was born in the Bronx, but I was raised in Queens, and there's no shade. Like, I just didn't do that. That wasn't my story. And as I say, like, I think my mom, especially in college, had a little bit of like a moment where she was like kind of struggling with the conservatism. And like, yeah, it was like a light switch. And like, you know, there was a semester. And I think this is right after she found out that I had a boyfriend. And she was like, you need to come home. You need to come home. And I was like, and I think she kind of knew that like it was impossible at that point. Because like, I was so confused. I remember saying to her, I was like, you sent me to boarding school. Like, I'm not coming home or something like that. Like, I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah.
And I think that's when she was like, yeah, like she realized she couldn't in that way. She couldn't impose herself in that way. And so she just like let go of that. It was like I want to say like it was freshman spring. We were having that tussle because also being away for 4 years, I didn't have the, you know, not even the relationship. It's like, I didn't have to tussle with my mom in that way. You know how high schoolers usually like, you know, have so much
forth.
No, I didn't have that. And so me being back in New York again, I think she thought it was like, we're going to have that closeness again, but like that wasn't the case. And so I feel like now that I was back in New York, I think I really got to know my parents. Actually not my parents because my dad's not in my life, but like really got to know my mom right after college. Because me and her spent so much time together, and then COVID, living in the same house, I feel like that was really where we made up for lost time because I was gone for so long.
Mhm.
But I guess I want to really ask you, I know you said you turned to acting as a form of
Yeah.
escapism. Acting is not like a traditional career. Like, that's not what the parents are. That's not what's
No.
going to buy the land and feed the
You know,
family,
yeah.
retire them early. Like, they're looking for engineers, they're looking for doctors, you know, the typical boring ass corny shit. Like, so how were you able to kind of like pursue this like
I'm
safely,
laughing
honestly?
because all my life, like every graduation, every award ceremony, my mom was like, "Yes, doctor," or she would compare me to Barack Obama, which I would just. It was like this, the pinnacle that they hold that man on, like the pedestal.
Yeah.
I just used to be sitting there like, you know, he's the only. Like I can, but I don't want to. But it was often like, doctor, lawyer, yes, my son. Like very much like you're going to be the saving grace of this family.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the day I told them I don't want to be a doctor no more. Remember the day I realized I didn't want to be a doctor.
Oh, you did want to at some point.
I think because it was all I was hearing. Like,
no.
I took it and I ran with it. I was like, yeah, I'm being a doctor. The fuck are y'all talking about?
I thought I wanted to be a doctor too. And I literally told my dad that when I was like, I think 10.
Yeah.
Literally like a month ago, my dad said, I thought you said you were going to be a doctor. I was like, yes, when I was 9,
Like-
nigga. Like, why didn't, like, keep up?
And that'd be
Like-
the thing where I just be looking like, yeah, I don't know me.
That is also, yeah. That's also sad though, realizing that your parents don't know you.
And I don't really think I know my parents either, but that's because they don't open up for me to, well, I don't open up either, but that's because trauma, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was 6th grade. We was Mr. Allardyce's class. He was like a 6'5", bulk-legged man, very slender, skinny. He taught social studies. We were dissecting a fucking frog in social studies. Don't know why we were dissecting a frog in social studies, but I fainted. I remember I fainted, and once I was conscious again, I said, no more doctor. I was like, y'all want me to do this? Like, cut people open? But I think back then I realized it was different forms of doctor.
Yeah.
But I was just like, nah, fuck that. And then I started acting in middle school, and I was just like,
I love this.
Not only do I love this, but I'm good at this. And I think I realized like the fear of like mediocrity growing up in an African household is like spooky. Where it's just like, yeah, I don't want to be a doctor, but whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure I'm the best at it because of like the standards that y'all hold for me.
Yeah.
Of having to be the best. Like, you know, it's that whole like, oh, I got a 3.9 GPA. Where's the 0.01? Like, where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
And that shit used to like hurt. Cause it's like, I did all this work. Like, y'all not realizing the good. You just focusing on the shit that's not there.
Always looking at it half empty, yeah.
Yeah, I realized it was like, I cannot live my life to appease my parents. And I think I made the conscious decision in high school, like, cause I kept studying it. Well, I feel like I eased my parents into that shit. Cause I studied it in middle school. And then I went on to high school to study it. And then I was just like, I'm gonna keep studying this in college. It was just like, you're gonna be poor and broke. And I was just like, that was also something I was struggling with. Cause I was just like, I like stability.
No, that's a real
don't wanna
thing.
be
I feel like
poor.
anyone who pursues like a creative and coming from a low income background,
yeah.
it's something that like you're commonly struggling with.
But I remember my parents was just like, no, like change your major, like do doctor, do lawyer. And I was always just like, nah, like, I don't want to like, I'm an academic. I feel like I'm an academic because I'm just good at academics, not because I want to be an academic. But I was just like, nah, like, this is it. And then it was a way for me to, I think acting just allowed me the opportunity to express myself in ways that I didn't necessarily get to. And I feel like I saw like, I don't want to say resentment, but like, I noticed the difference in my parents when I said that was what I wanted to do. Like, the fact that they would bring it up in conversations, like, if I was studying a play or reading a play or like practicing lines, it was just like, yo fempo like janga Quran or something, which is like, you know, go sit down and read the Quran. I'm just like, like, this is part of my, like, once I said this part of my grade, then it was like, oh, okay, like, keep doing it, like, your grade matters. but it was still like, this isn't helping you be a good Muslim. And I was just like...
because dancing, music, all that stuff is haram.
And I used to want to dance so badly as a child. And I didn't because I was just like, one, like growing up in an African household, like what are they going to think? But also like, two, like being a gay boy, like 10, 11, knowing that, like cognizantly kind of realizing that you're gay, but not wanting other people to know it and being like, what decision am I going to make to either mask my identity or like, or essentially not mask it. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, dancing is gay, because it's not. But it's also just like, that was the way it was perceived back then.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like...
That's how they would characterize it. So I guess I want to ask, like, how were you able to kind of like learn about yourself and like explore these different... you know what I mean? Like all the things that you were struggling with in a house where you strictly couldn't express yourself. Like whether it was gender expression or whatever it was.
I think it's like through research, writing, reading, and isolation. My therapist, love her.
Did it stunt you though? Do you feel? Like, because you were doing it all like very, very like close to your chest. And like kind of
I
like
think
in
a bit, yeah, absolutely. I feel like... I honestly feel like I probably would have been married with a nigga right now if I had like accepted my queerness at a younger age and allowed myself to like... I didn't date throughout high school at all. Like, I was just like, yeah, I'm gay, but like, I'm not that gay. Like I was like, my parents are still gonna like fuck me up, like if they find out type shit. Like, so it was just like, I can't date.
Yeah.
And then it was also just like, I didn't know what I liked necessarily because I didn't allow myself to experiment. Mm-hmm. So I didn't start experimenting like until I got to college, really, where I was just like, oh, I don't like this. I do like this. I don't like white people. I do like black people.
So basically it was like college. You decided that you were going to live your life out like as a gay man.
I feel like it was college and high school. I feel like high school, there were many days where I would be waiting for the train and I would just be reading articles of people like either running away from home because of their queerness or like, I remember in high school, I was just like, I know there's going to be a day where me and my parents are going to stop talking because of my sexuality. I know there's going to be a day where it's just like our relationship is going to come to an end because they're not going to want to continue to be the parents of someone who's out, be the parents of someone who's gay, and who chooses to live in that truth.
And you knew that and you accepted that?
I don't know if I accepted it, but it was like a real thought in my head. And for me, it was like, okay, this can be a thought, but the process of going through it is so much scarier than this just being a thought. So I was always like, let this just be a thought. Let this just be a thought. Let this just be a thought. So
did you ever, I know you said you didn't believe in the aspect of coming out, but did you ever officially come out to your Guinean parents? Did you ever do it?
Yeah, I did.
When did you do it?
It was...
tell us, when did you do it? How did you do it?
July 20th, 2018. I was kind of like, I feel like I was traumatized. So I have 4 tattoos. I got them like 2 years before that, or a year before that, I don't remember. But all I know is it was one day, summer, back from college. I'm laying in bed and my mom sees one of my tattoos hanging. It's like a 2-week process of me coming out, essentially. And she's like, what's that on your arm? So she drags me out of bed and is just like, scrubbing my arm. And she's like, it's not coming off. And I'm like, it's a tattoo. And she's just like, no, it has to come off. I'm like, well, it's permanent. And then a week later, they saw my tattoo on my side. And my dad was just like, when you come home from work, it better be gone. So I remember I was walking home from work like, what does he mean? It better be gone. Like, it's a tattoo. Like, how am I gonna, like, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
And I came back and I just go straight, I beeline to my room. And he's just like, oh no, come. He's eating like Mathew soup or something. And he's just like, lift up your shirt. I do, he goes, he's still there. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, Safilito, which is like, don't do it again. And I'm sitting here like, I have 2 more that they didn't see. Like, what the fuck, bro? Yeah. And I've had my septum since I was like 16, but I've always flipped it up. And I think I was going to like a job interview this day. Now it was July 20th. And my mom said something to me. And I just thought it was funny, so I laughed. And my head went back when I laughed. And she was like, what's that? And, you know, it's a booger. And she's just like, no, there's something there. I'm like, no, what's the matter? And she's like, no. So she's like trying to look at my nose on my eye. Like she done seen it already. I'm not about to sit here and be delusional about her not seeing it.
Yeah.
So I just flipped it out. So she's in the bathroom trying to make me to take it out. I don't remember what she was saying. I just remember she was just yelling things at me. And I was just sitting like, oh my gosh, like I gotta leave. And we had like 2 bathrooms. My dad's in the other bathroom. I remember he's just hearing the commotion. So he comes out and he's just like, what? And she's like, Daddy, like, Daddy, which is like, look at what he did to his face and stuff like that. And my father's like, Kwanage. I'm like, no. And then he's just like, what? You keep doing this stuff because what? You're gay? And I was like, yup. And he was like, you're gay? And I said, yup. And that was my coming out. It was very traumatic. I sat there, I cleaned my nose out. And as I left the bathroom, my phone was missing, my laptop was missing, and I was just sitting there like, I need that. And then that entire summer, so dreadful. I was like, whatever day we had to move back to campus, that bitch was circled on my calendar. And I was counting the days because I was like, I cannot be here. It was so bad to the point, like, you know, when African parents be like, oh, man, not that there.
We're going to take you back to Africa.
Yeah. But I'm 19. I'm like, y'all not taking me back. Like, I'm not, like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
My dad made a passport for me. I had a passport made for me. And I remember like the expedited date, it was going to be like after we returned to campus. So I was happy because I was like, I got a free passport out of it and I didn't have to go to Africa. But it was also just like, if I go to Africa, then we're like, what y'all going to tell people? Oh, we sent him back because he was like a nafigijo or something.
What is a nafigijo?
Like just someone who doesn't really listen, like Ananta.
Yeah.
Like clown, kind of. And that was my coming out, but it was very traumatic because that entire summer, there was just constantly things that kept happening where I was just like, I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
Like in my own household where it's just like, your home is supposed to be your safe haven almost.
You know, it's crazy because I relate to so much of what you're saying because I feel like I recently had a fake coming out when I moved out from my parents' home, and it's not nearly as traumatizing as yours. But like, I kind of knew there was also a day when I decided to like be a quote-unquote #free woman.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, not necessarily get married at 25 and not wear a hijab. Like, I knew there was gonna come a day.
They're looking at you like, wow.
You know what I mean? And it was like, I wasn't the perfect Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
I like, that was more apparent and there was a bit of a friction there. I knew it was gonna lead to a lot of friction between like me and my parents. And when I say parents, I mean my mom.
Yeah.
And just because like, you know,
you're not following the norms.
You're not following the norm. And like, you know, when I started dating, and the first time that friction kind of like played out was when, you know, my mom found out that I had a boyfriend. And I was dating this Puerto Rican boy.
Which I commend you, because parent finding out there's no boyfriend. It's you talk for 2 months, you married the next month.
And so it's like, I had been dating that boy since I was like 16. So I had a boyfriend for like almost 3-4 years and they didn't know anything about it. Like, and then I ended up like getting kicked out of my house because I had like this boyfriend. Not kicked out, actually, I voluntarily left. Like I like refused to go home because I had decided to get a summer RA position. And that was the first time, and I had to go and live with my gay best friend.
It's like liberation.
But it was like so funny because he had also come out that year as well.
Oh my gosh.
And so we were both just like
very transitional periods.
No, and it was like, so for me, it was like he was like, oh my God, I'm gay. And I was like, oh my God, I have a boyfriend. And it was like and then our mothers were also friends.
Gay son, thought daughter.
Yeah.
Like
so like that was like us being like, oh my God, like we were like holding on to each other and like literally, and mind you, like in the grand scheme of things, like when I tell people, oh yeah, like my mom was upset that I had a boyfriend, they're like, why? And like
they don't understand.
Yeah, they don't get it. But it was like, so it's like I really do relate to you, like the feelings of you being like, I knew when I was younger, I was like, there may come a day like where me and my mom might not speak and I need to like
be prepared for that.
Yeah. And you know, the Black woman in me, I was like, I need to prepare. I need to write my stickies. I need to talk to my therapist. I need to be ready. I need to be ready.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now. You know what I mean?
It's so weird because it's like no matter how much work you put into it, you'll never like. Again, it's that like whole this is a thought, but going through that process and journey is a lot. Like I never thought that I was gonna come out to my parents. I just always assumed like I'm open your eyes. I'm gay. And I always thought that was just gonna be it. But I was always cognizant of like, they grew up differently. And I hate that
but the thing is too, you know what's crazy? All the Fulanis will always tell me that gay agal, that thing, dung alagine.
And it is.
And I'm like, y'all are joking. There is a huge LGBTQ community. I just want to let y'all know that. There are gays in Guinea.
And in New York. Some of your husbands.
There are some gay uncles. There are some gay politicians. Don't kill me.
They might try to kill me. But.
Do you go back ever? Do you want to go back ever?
I tussle with this so much because this is like last time I've been when I was 4. So it's like I don't.
Wait, actually, before we get into that, what was the community chatter like?
Oh,
like
my God!
How did because I know your parents found out that you were gay. They probably didn't tell anybody, but how did the community?
Nah, they definitely. Dumb people be like, don't tell my business and then go tell their own business and be like, we not telling our business, but then people be calling them about their business that they just told. Oh my gosh, my aunt tried to call me and I just kept declining her call because I was just like, you're not in this. Like, let us handle this.
They love to get in it, yeah.
And they was like, oh, I had a sinai man wanting. And I'm just like, y'all embarrass yourselves. I don't got to do that. Look at how you look. That's embarrassing enough.
Look at the way you act. It's the way you act.
No, literally. And that shit was so fucking annoying because it was just like, y'all don't call me on my birthdays. Y'all don't call me on Eids. We don't talk on a regular basis. And now that I'm gay, all of a sudden you ringing my line? I don't even have your fucking number saved. I'm picking up like, hello, who is this? And they just start speaking Fulani. Hang up. And then it's we doing this because we love you. You don't know me.
You don't know me. You don't check up on me. You don't talk to me. You're never there to celebrate my high moments. You literally don't know who I am. If I walk past you in the street, you could not recognize me.
They might be able to recognize me. But
No, but like, it's just like, in terms of, like, if they just saw you out, like, they like, we don't.
You knew me when I was a child.
Exactly.
They have this I used to say this thing all the time where it's like being Guinean and like growing up, like not growing up there, it's like your parents have this image of who they want you to be and they take this clay and mold it so perfectly and they think that this clay is just going to grow and be the clay. Where it's just like, I'm not clay. I'm not clay. Like you cannot make me. Like you can try to instill your ethics and morals in me and I can take what I want and leave what I don't.
You know what's crazy? So when you came to NYU, someone was like, there's a Guinean boy, but he's gay, which the language is so interesting to me. And I was like,
I couldn't just be a Guinean boy.
And I was like, oh my God, really? And the thing is though, you're the first. Like you're the first openly gay Guinean Fulani.
Like that. Like there's like this burden. Like I remember when I used to like wear the dresses and like do the photo shoots.
So when I went to your Instagram, they were like, yeah, his name is Amadou. And so I went to your Instagram, I was like, oh my God, like he's truly living in his truth. Like you were wearing the dresses, you were beating your face. And like, for me, it was like, wow, you are so...
Cunt. You can say it.
You are cunt.
Thank you.
And I was like, wow, you honestly inspired me because I was, like hashtag before free woman. Hashtag before free woman. I didn't have the balls. Like I felt like I was living, it was that double life, that Hannah Montana life. Like, you know what I mean? I'm one way with my friends. I'm another way to my parents. Like I feel like my parents saw a version of me and I only let them see what I knew they would accept. Version. Exactly. And so it's like when I grew old, and the thing is, I thought, I was like, I can compartmentalize this for the rest of my life. I thought I could do this forever. But I say all the time, like misery can literally not be compartmentalized. Yeah. And like, that's exactly what I feel like happened. Like, I feel like you probably got to a point, and that's why you had that explosive, like, moment with your dad when you were like, when you kind of were forced to come out. not forced, but
that's exactly how I view it. And I'd be like, I don't think it was forced, but it was just like, it just got to a point where I just had to erupt because it was just like, there's just so much built up. And I was like, I just can't hold on to this any longer. Like, it wasn't a conscious choice to say I'm gay. Like, it literally came out. Like, I had no think time at all.
Wow. I mean, I feel like sometimes your body, like,
holds on to that trauma.
Yeah. And like releases that, like has to release that trauma. Sometimes, like, I feel like you were probably so traumatized that your body was like, oh
my gosh. I just remembered I had a whole interview that day. And I remember I went to the interview and I'm thinking I'm fine. I don't cry. I have one water placement in my entire chart. One, singular one. And I remember that lady asked me a question like, what's your proudest moment? Bitch, the way them tears came out my eyes, and this lady looking at me like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm sorry. I just came out. And I'm just like crying, and this white bitch is looking in my face like, this faggot is crying in front of my fucking face. But I remember it just felt so, like, it felt like catharsis, but it also just felt like the beginning of like the end again. So I was just like, I'm glad that I did it, but then it was also just like, fuck, like, we're now opening this new journey that we have to go through, where it was like, I was just going through it by myself, and it felt good to go through it by myself because I don't have to think about my emotions. And I'm someone who rationalizes everyone else's feelings and the way that they, like, look at things. So it's always difficult to think about, like, my coming out with my parents because I'm always, like, thinking about their upbringing and what they're thinking and how they grew up and how that is affecting them. But I'm also just like, I have to, like, let that shit go because it's like, they have their life to live and they're still living it, well, as much as they can. But it's like, I'm 25. I'm not about to sit here and, like, pack away my identity to appease a whole community who don't give a fuck about me.
They don't give a fuck about you, and you will never please them. The goalposts will always keep moving. And on top of that, then you're not living a life for yourself, which is also so miserable. Yeah. And a lot of them are so miserable because they're not living lives for themselves. How would you say, because like you said, the community, the chatter, being at NYU, there were Fulanis there. How was that? Because then it kind of became, once you were like living and you were doing your thing, it was clear. So how did you manage that?
I feel like most of my life, I always wanted to be away from the community because I was like, I knew what it was going to give. And I saw the way that they gossiped about people, you know? It was just like, I grew up in it. So I used to be sitting like, I don't want to be a part of this. But once I got to college, it was like, all right, like I have a moment to like express myself and try to. And I even tried to infuse my parents into that a bit. Like, remember the first time I dyed my hair and I called my mom, I was not expecting that reaction out of her. It was like, itu. Like, what did she say? Oh my gosh. What did we say?
You're a child of a Muslim. You're a man.
Yeah, you're a child of a man. I'm just like, I can't dye my hair. And because, you know, they be like the imams and stuff be dyeing their beards that specific color. It was something like that. So I'm thinking like, oh, this is okay. I don't see nowhere where it says it's haram unless it's like you're dyeing it to get rid of the grays or whatever. So I even tried to infuse them in that. I was like, let me take baby steps. And once I saw her reaction to that, I said, oh, she gonna fucking hate me. Yeah. So I was just like, I just gotta live. And then it just got to a point where my stories were just being like circulated around the community. Remember, it was to a point where it would be like 1,500, 2,000 views in a day. And I'd be sitting there like, who the fuck are these accounts? And then my parents would be calling me like, I had to see him when he send you them when he posted there. And I'm just like, I legit wouldn't be posting nothing crazy, at least to me.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point where I was just like...
Do you think it was like people who went to school with us that were sending those?
No, and I had to stop caring about who it was. Because I feel like I gave too much light to it, where I was just like, regardless of who's sending it, this is still my truth.
Yeah.
If you're sending it to be messy, petty, like gossip, whatever it is you're sending it about, it's weird.
If you are someone who takes pride in getting brownie points from your parents by sending people stories because they're living in their truth, you're pathetic, You're fucking weird. And you need to get a fucking life. It's unfortunate. And like, I just want to let you know, like, you will never, like, your parents still probably hate you. Just want to put that out there.
What
But
they did in Color Purple?
Huh?
Everything you touch.
Everything you done to me. Already done to you.
Very much that.
Like,
because you're a weirdo.
You are a weirdo. But you're right. You have to kind of let go of it. And I feel like at the beginning of college, because like I had never gone to school with Fulanis before. And
To school with one. Hated it.
I was kind of under the impression, like, I just want to stay away from y'all because, like, also, like, my mom divorced my dad. So I've seen, like, my mom...
Which is radical.
And she was kind of given the scarlet letter because she divorced my dad. Excommunicating her, like, not inviting her to events because she left an abusive marriage. Because she didn't...
Because she chose herself.
Yeah, because she chose herself and she believed in herself. And, like, not staying with a man who was not giving in any way, shape, or form. And so I had kind of seen what she had gone through with the Fulani community. And I was like, I don't ever want to go through that. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to be a part of that. And I don't need commentary from people who don't give a fuck about me and who are not helping me in any way, shape, or form. And also who are not being good community members in any...
Weird though. I feel like the first time I felt a part of the community was in college.
Really?
Like, I was on ASU. Like, there was Fulani. Oh, don't laugh. There were definitely people.
Go.
There were definitely people on campus who were like African and specifically Fulani who I was friends with. There was only one person, and I remember the moment I met him, I knew we wasn't gonna fuck with each other, and I kept it pushing. Like, I legit got homophobic vibes. Like, it was me, him, and another one of my good friends, one of my best friends. It was like orientation or something. We were walking and we was like, oh, like we're all African, like talking. And then he said his name. And I was living in my truth. Like I was like, if I'm not in front of my parents, I'm gonna live.
Yeah.
And just, it's like subtle reactions. Like homophobia doesn't always have to be like this outright hatred. It could be even like the subtlest decision not to talk to me.
Yeah.
And I was always just like...
Hyper aware of that.
Yeah.
You're hyper aware of that.
So I was always just like, we're not gonna fuck with each other. And I never went around him again because I was just like, I see how you maneuver. You're not an ally. You don't care about me. I don't care about you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone's just a weirdo. I don't understand. Like, homophobia to me is just so weird because it's just like, this has nothing, like, it's not your dick. It's not your ass. I'm not dating you. I'm not fucking you. I'm not marrying you. But yet you care so much.
Yeah.
I must really be top pussy.
They care so much. Like, I feel like sometimes, it comes from their insecurities, I realize, too.
Because they be gay. They be gay.
Say it again.
They be gay. Welcome to our ASMR.
Where they are gay.
Queens.
No, they are gay. No, they are.
There definitely are men within the Fulani community that, around our age, that have definitely slid in my DMs. Which camera I gotta look at? I'm talking about you. They be gay.
They be gay.
And they be making it seem like I'm the only motherfucker out here. And I'd be like, you, we're a community.
We are, yes.
Like,
the Guinean gay community is large.
Just suck dick, have fun. Like, no one's stopping you.
That is so crazy.
They do be doing that still, but giving DL. I won't out you.
What was it like to like enter the gay community in New York City?
Oh, spooky. Spooky. I wish I did it. Like, everyone's always like, oh, like, that'd be the shit where it's just like, you're choosing to be, I wish I wasn't gay. I'm sorry to say it. It's not fun. Really? It's not fun. Entering the gay community, everyone's catty. Like, even in friend groups at times, it feels just like there's like a level of like jealousy there. Or it's often like this false friendship of like, oh, I want to fuck you, but I want to be your friend, but I want to fuck, but I want to be like, no. And then it's just like dating, especially as someone who grew up within like the Guinean community. Well, I just feel like a lot of the morals and like ethics that we have are surrounding like family and like we value marriage and those things. And I
Yeah.
just feel as though sometimes gay culture doesn't celebrate or allow for that ever. So it's just like when that is something that you want, it feels like it's in contention with being gay because it's just like gay culture doesn't give that at all. Especially when you only like Black men. It's like Black men don't like.
Say it.
They don't. They be wanting the meter. They do. And I don't hate to say it.
Who are
'cause
the
it's true.
mitas?
The Dominicans, baby. The Spaniards. Like they definitely be wanting the dale-dales. And I'm not dale-dale. Like, I am... Like, I am not a house, like, slave. I'm definitely filled. And they don't be wanting me. So it's very hard to navigate that space, especially when you want romance and love and, like, actually
What type of niggas were you dating?
I don't... Toxic ones. Spooky. I realized I do like African men.
Do you like closeted men?
No. I did that once and I'm never going back. Okay. Baby, that was a translucent closet too. We saw through that bitch. He was still like, I'm not gay. I said, to who? Do they know that? It's straight in the room with us.
Did you ever use the dating apps like Grindr and stuff or no?
My dad saw that app on my phone.
Really?
During my coming out. Yeah. He woke me up one morning during prayer. And he was like, I was going through your phone. They found a way to unlock my phone during that time period of me coming out. And he said, and I opened. It was Grindr and Jacked. And he said, I opened this app and this app. I said, huh? And he hands me the phone. He goes, this one or this one? He said, what is that, bitch? The way I pressed delete. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I gave him back the phone. And he was just like, no, it was just there. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And we ain't don't talk about it ever since that day. Because I deleted them.
Because there's certain things that, like, it's just, we don't have to speak about it. Like, we don't, like...
Why would you put yourself through that? Why would you put me through that?
I feel like, sometimes I'm like, it must be abuse. Like, it must be, you must hate yourself to, like, want... Because, like, you don't want to know, like, you're looking for things you do not want to find out. Like, you don't want the answer to this. I know you don't. I know you. We've met. You don't want to know the answer. So don't go don't go looking for things you don't want to find.
That was a very traumatic moment. And I remember I sat there and I was trying to go back to sleep and my heart was beating.
Because sometimes you have to gaslight them.
I was like, damn, this nigga just saw a dick on my phone.
No, it was like so the way my mom found out that I had a boyfriend, she went through my phone. And I remember she like showed me clearly a picture of like me and my boyfriend. And I was like, no, I don't know what that is. I had to like literally act like insane. I was like, no, that's not, I don't know what that is. I'm looking at a picture of me and him. And I'm like, I've never seen that before.
I think like there has to be like a level of psychoticness that you have to like attain in order to survive being Guinean. Because there's just no possible way to get through life the way that they be living. I just be like, why would you... You know you don't want to see that. Don't go looking for it. It's that simple. No, it could be avoided.
So, like, now that you've been out, right? Like, and I guess, like...
Well, to them, it was a phase.
It was a phase. So, okay, so when did they...
My mother still thinks I'm going to marry a woman.
Do they bring suitors to your...
Oh, my God. Eid 2022, this girl that I grew up with, I'm thinking we just all taking pictures, and then they invite her family and all of them back to our house. And then my dad's like, oh yeah, go speak to her dad. Huh?
To say what?
Right. I'm like, Anjara, I'm a high. Like, you know, very simple. And they're like, oh yeah, our daughter has graduated nursing school. I'm like, oh, that's good. Like, congrats. And they're like, oh yeah, like, what are you doing after? Like, are you getting a house? Like, when are you getting married? I'm sitting here listening to the questions like, my ears is starting to ring. And I'm looking at my parents. My parents like, yeah, yo, I did not bet diang. And I'm just sitting here like, y'all trying to set me up. And as the family's leaving, we usually just walk them to the elevator, call it a day. My mom like, yeah, no, like walk them to their car. Huh? Am I a chauffeur? And I was just sitting there and I got back up. I said, I know what y'all doing. Y'all trying to set me up. I'm not ready to get married. Like, stop. Like, I just be sitting here like, y'all want people to be miserable. Like, did you don't set up a girl to marry someone that you know is gay.
But the thing is, because they have this idea that like, especially when like, I don't know if you ever heard like when they have hood rat sons, I said it, and they're like, oh, we want to save him from the streets or whatever. They'll like they'll like give him a girl. That's how they say it. They're like, "May okutirimo," like, you know what I mean? We gave him a girl to fix him, and it's like,
Girl,
this
that fixed word triggers me.
Yeah, no, that's what they probably in their mind are like thinking that
Marriage is gonna.
they're gonna oh yeah, let's put him in a marriage, and she can fix him. So they put it they put the responsibility
On
of
that
these
girl.
on that girl who has probably been stripped of like her autonomy, doesn't feel any sort of like agency, or like is been beaten down to a point where like she can literally in this day and age of 2024 literally accept her being given away in America. So think about how, like, I don't know. For me, like, I've seen a lot of situations where like they really just debilitate the women to a point where like
it's better to just be given away than live where you're living.
And so girls just accept it, and they're just like, okay, I'll do it, and like they don't see an avenue out. And so it's like I'm not even surprised that you were put in that situation.
If you gay out here marrying women, that's so fucking whack. That's so whack.
But it's also like I'm not going to defend it, but sometimes like
it's a trauma.
Yeah, they can't, like, I'm sure there are so many gay Guinean men. Think about the generations ahead of us, our parents' age, that are probably in marriages.
And I be thinking about that shit like eons ago. Like, isn't there like a whole thing of like there's like a tribe where there's a Fulani tribe apparently back in the day or something where the men were the one who were beautified and were like presenting themselves to the women. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Chad. Yeah, and they're one of the few, I think, Fulani tribes that haven't been infiltrated by like religious colonization. Look into it. And yeah, but people don't talk about that. But I do want to now kind of segue to this point. How are you now like reconciling being gay and like also, wanting to participate in like Fulani culture, wanting to, you know what I mean? You're Guinean. And like, also like, we haven't really talked a lot on religion, but I do get a sense that you still want to like pursue your faith, or like in a certain, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like, and also just being Muslim on top of that. So how do you reconcile being gay, Muslim, Fulani, Guinean?
That's a big ass intersectionality.
Yeah, there's a lot of intersections.
Like through therapy. Like, shout out Rain. Shout out Rain. Psychology Today. That's where I found her. It really is just through therapy. I feel like because I've lived with this intersection most of my life, these are like things I've always thought about, but I've never been able to get out. So for me, through therapy, it's just like, I just be rambling on with her sometimes. And then we just clock different traumas that pop up. And I'm just like, I didn't even realize this was a trauma of mine presented from my community or religion or just the queer culture, queer scene. I don't know if I'm fully reconciling it. I feel like I'm just at a point where I'm just like, all these things are just gonna have to live together, regardless of what people think. And it's hard because it's just like, I just said, like, I do want to be a part of like the culture and stuff, but it's also just like not at my expense. I refuse to allow myself to feel as though like I'm the butt of a joke or like I'm the spectacle in the room. And if it's gonna be like that, then I'd just rather not be a part of that.
Yeah.
And it sucks because it's like I want to hold on to these traditions. And I was even talking with my therapist about like marriage and what would that even look like for me if I were to get married. Like,
do you want kids also?
I do. I don't talk about it often, but I want to be a parent. I want to be a father of two. I have all these. I'm not naming my child no Fulani name. I'm sorry. It's too much. Let's get some new names in the mix. Like, everyone is Ismatou, Binta,
Amadou.
like, damn, like, Mamadou, Bubak, like, oh, let's get creative.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to navigate because then the big question for me sometimes isn't even like culture. It's like, are my parents going to be there? Like, are they going to have are they going to be a part of my life at that moment? Will they be there? Not because of like death, but more so like their own choosing and willingness to like accept that, you know? And that's often scary because I'm just like, it is going to get to a day where I'm experiencing it and having to go through it in the moment and feel those emotions out loud versus just like, I'm just pondering, I'm just wondering, I know it's going to come. And it's scary.
I feel like I remember having a conversation with you in college and I was like, you should totally go to Guinea. I was like projecting my own experiences onto you because I was like, I'm a straight Black woman who goes back there. Like, obviously I'm going to have a great time. And I like was kind of reflecting on our conversations where I was like, no, you can go and like totally get an Airbnb and you'll be fine. But it's like, I don't even know if you would want to even subject yourself to being in a country like that where you like actually couldn't safely walk down the street.
And that's my thing where I'm just like, I want to go immerse myself back in the culture and see it firsthand. Like where it's like everyone is a part of that culture, but it's also just like, I already see the way my parents ridicule the way that I walk, the way that I dress. Like, and it's thinking about that and having to consciously make decisions of like, well, I'm not going to bring this because I'm going here and like knowing the place I'm going.
Yeah, you would
And
have to like basically like
very Islamic state from what I remember.
It is. And it's gotten a little bit more extreme.
Yeah, especially with all the political unrest as well. I don't necessarily know if I'm like in a space where I'm ready to subject myself to that. And it's also just like, would I have fun being gay out there? Like, I just don't see how it would work, especially where it's just like you say there's a queer community out there.
I mean, it's definitely underground. Like, it's definitely, it's not something like you would have to look for it. You know what I mean? And it would be at the expense and risk of your safety.
Yeah, and then it's like, who do I ask? Like, what do I like? Where the niggas at? Like, where the gays?
Yeah. No, true.
And it's like I don't necessarily know how I would navigate that safely. And it's like, yeah, I speak the language, but I also know I'm not the most fluent at the language. And the idea of not knowing how the fuck to get to a U.S. embassy if I went out there to possibly come back if there was a situation where I needed safety, it's just like, damn, I'd just rather not. Like, I remember when my father bought that passport for me, in my head, I was sitting there like, they're gonna book this flight for me to go back and watch me not take that damn flight. I will go through everything and miss that fucking flight.
Yeah.
That's literally what went through my head when they bought that passport for me.
It's crazy because I don't think they realize how hurtful that is. Like, to be like, you're not doing what we want you to be. You're not being what you want, like what we want you to be. So we're gonna fix you.
There's often the blame is like on the person. Yeah, during that whole coming out thing, like maybe a few months later, my mom made this tea. And I was eating one night and she goes, drink this, it's gonna fix you. And I was like, huh? And she was like, drink it. I was like, no. And she was like, drink it, it's gonna fix you. And I said, I don't need to be fixed. And she was like, drink it or get out my house. I said, baby, them bags is packed. And I remember my father came in. I don't know what it was, but I wasn't drinking that shit. My father came in, took a fake little sip and said, see, I'm drinking it. If I could drink it, that means you could drink it. He took his sip, put it back down, and I looked at it. I said, I'm still not drinking it. And they was like, get out. And I said, bet. But I feel like African parents, it's like they say shit that they don't mean. Because as soon as they said get out, I rolled my big back ass and my big back ass suitcases out that apartment. And then my parents were trying to fight me to stay. And I'm like, no. Like, I don't need to be fixed. There is nothing wrong with me. I am living in my truth. And it's often like this whole like, this is not you. Ko jinna nanguma. Like, no. There's no jinnah in me. Spooky.
I'm just so sad because these are the people that's supposed to protect you. Like I always get sad around like, I always talk to other like Fulanis and they like, tell me it's crazy how like sometimes like people who are supposed to be protecting you are like
the one causing you the most harm.
Yeah, and you do not feel the safest around. So who would you say you feel the safest around? Who would you say is your community? Would you say Guineans are your community? Would you say like who do you
like? The older I get, the more I'm finding Guinean community, but it's like within our generation. And it's not everyone, definitely not everyone, but it's just like people I'm meeting outside of the community that I grew up in Brooklyn. And they might have also grew up in the same community in Brooklyn. We just not have crossed paths, essentially, where I'm just like, I feel safe, like I feel brave enough to like even just share my story and be like, they're not going to judge. Like, it's like, you are living in your truth and you're living in your truth. Your truth has nothing to do with me. My
not
siblings
even that my
as
truth.
well.
I wouldn't even say, because I don't even think that's like I think there's a level when people are like, oh, I'm not homophobic. Like what they do has nothing to do with me. I
That's
take it as
homophobic.
far as like, you are enough. Like you are okay. Like you
Yeah.
are a gay man, and like I could have gay children. You know what I mean? Like it's not, for me, it's not enough to be like, oh, like, oh, what you do with your life is not my business. Da, 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 da. I like that can't be enough. Like I
that's
feel like
how my parents kind of grew up a bit. Whereas my middle school teacher, one of my middle school theater teacher was gay. And they had a great relationship with him, would talk to him, everything. But it's just like, but my child, I can't accept that. And it's so sad because I feel like a lot of times queer people come out and it's often this thing of like, oh, you were touched. Like, who touched you? Kind of thing. And it's just like, damn, like, y'all really see gay people as like predators. Where it's just like, that's not the case at all. Like, it's just so sad. Because I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't want people to then in turn view me as that, where it's just like,
and that's how they would, given the state of where everything is. Like even us filming this podcast, like, you know, it's probably gonna circulate, you
Yeah.
know? And like you know, before I even started this podcast, I had to kind of reckon with, you know, I'm inviting commentary into a lot of my beliefs and my thoughts and my family. You know, I'm sharing a lot, you know? And there's an aspect of it where you're like, oh, like I don't really want people speaking on, because you know what I mean?
It's so
Like
taboo still.
yes, you know what I mean? I don't want people speaking on my mom, my dad, because like at the end of the day, yes, at least for me, like yes, XYZ happened, but like I love my mom. I love
Like
her.
those are still people in my life that I care
Exactly.
for.
But it's like also then it's like, then no one's having the conversation. And I like someone has to do it, because like there are people who are like losing their minds. Like there are people that are losing their minds. There are people who are like losing their lives over this. And this is a huge issue. Like the fact that like there are people in our community that do not feel safe, that do not feel connected to our culture and to our community.
Yeah.
The fact that like your parents, I know you told me once like your parents got ridiculed or like got
Yeah, because of what I posted and stuff like that. Like people were calling them like check your son type shit.
like that
Crazy.
is ridiculous. That is out of line in any way, shape, or form. And like the fact that like it's even seeped into our generation a little bit. Like I've met people who I'm like, okay, you're that type of person.
I don't want to. Yeah.
Like I don't have time for this.
And I think it's also like, again, that whole intersectional thing. Like, I remember the Pulse nightclub shooting, like vividly, because he was Muslim. And I remember sitting there being like, wow, like this is like my brother in religion shooting like essentially me for just living. And like his name was like Omar Martin, but there was like speculation that he was gay. And I was like, it's so sad that you have to have all this trauma and like not living your truth to the point and extent where you have so much like self-hatred that you're gonna go and kill people because you're just like, you believe so wholeheartedly like what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
And that hurt me so much because I was just like, I'm Muslim and I'm gay. Like, I can't ever. Oh, I find that there's always like that thing of like, oh, it's either you're this or this. Like, and I think that was always my upbringing, where it's just like I was too African for the black kids and I was too black for the white kids. Like I was too Muslim for the Christians, but I was not Muslim enough for the Muslims. I was too gay for the straights and not gay enough for the gays. Like it's always like something you're fighting. You're never enough. Where I'm just like, my identities are gonna live together. I can't do nothing about it anymore. Like, this is who I am. I'm a cultural melting pot. Like, these are the fabrics that I got given, and I'm just gonna allow themselves to be weaving together because this is the only life I have to live, and I cannot sit here and live in fear. I cannot sit here and live for others, and the only person I need to appease is myself.
That's so beautiful. It really is. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I really am. I remember when I first met you, NYU, you were definitely living in your truth, which I always admired about you. I think you're one of the, I don't admire a lot of people, but I you're one of the few that I do admire.
I'm kind.
Because there are so many people that will probably never get the, I'm just thinking about people who
Opportunity,
live in Guinea who, don't have the opportunity to do the things that we do or, speak freely and have the privilege to live in our truth and, be able to kind of like shift culture almost a little bit and
Yeah.
have conversations that have not been seen before. And it takes a lot of balls to do this shit on your terms.
Clock it.
It takes a lot of bravery. I'm so thankful that you came on here and shared your story with me and shared your story with everyone. I don't want to get emotional.
Don't.
I won't.
That's what I do. I don't cry.
I don't cry either.
I actually do. I started calling my tears little revolutions because I didn't grow up crying. And I was just like, crying is such a revolutionary act, especially as an African man, where I'm just like, you're told not to cry. And I've been working on allowing myself to be emotional and release my emotions, because before I would just feel it and look at a wall and be like, let's go on a walk instead. And I'm like, okay, we can cry.
Yeah, you can. And I should. But I hate crying on the internet.
It's okay. You're an emotional gangster.
If you liked what you saw, make sure you follow us at Honor Terms Pod, me, your host, at UTomsy, and our beautiful, beautiful guest at
Amadou, Amazou.
Period. And we will catch you next time.